Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. And here are our top stories. Digital transformation is about talent, not just technology, and getting the world flying again. And joining me now, he is the host of Motley Fool Live, and he's also a senior technology and consumer products reporter with the aforementioned The Motley Fool, Dan Klein. Welcome on the program this morning.
Hey there, Jeff. I am a host of Motley Fool Live. There are many other wonderful hosts. As you know, we've been going sort of round the clock, 12 hours a day, live video programming. This afternoon, it will be a few days ago based on when we're taping this, I actually got to host a game show, which is one of the lifelong dreams. They didn't give me the skinny microphone. There's no music, but we're actually doing a format. We're calling it Fool Me Once, where we ask questions with the idea. We let the audience can vote, via Zoom meeting polls. And the idea is to show them things they think they believe are right that aren't actually correct. And last week, 7 of the 8 questions we asked, people did not know the correct answer. So it's really illuminating to sort of get to educate people in that way.
I could see you as Wink Martindale or Pat Sajak. Drew Carey doing The Price is Right. I definitely could see that. So Dan, let's talk about digital transformation. Recent Harvard Business Review article talked that it's not just about digital and technology, it's about talent too.
Yeah, you need to be able to use that technology. So as I just talked about what we're doing, the ability to adapt on the fly, find a technology, we're using Zoom, and turn that into a television network, that's actually something that some of the bigger networks have struggled with. I don't know how much you watch ESPN, but if you watch ESPN in the morning, they're doing they're doing Get Up, which is their morning show. It's a good show. I actually like it. It's pretty fun sports content. There's not a lot to talk about right now, and all of their panelists are at home, and many of them do not have good internet connections. And the problem with that is, so you could have the best content in the world. They could have sent you the best camera and the best mic. If you don't have a good internet connection, whereas some of their competitors, Stadium, which is a much smaller competitor, when this happened, they went, okay, what do we do? And they sent technicians out. They got new lines put into people's houses. In some cases, they have their mobile broadcast trucks parked at the correspondent's house so they can actually be using satellite or whatever technology. And I don't watch Stadium, but it sounded from the article I read on Awful Announcing, which is a pretty cool website, like it was a pretty good experience. I know I interviewed the CEO of TiVo yesterday, and yes, my first question was, there's still a TiVo? Which he knew was coming. I didn't just spring that on him. And his internet connection was terrible. Yeah. So I had this big time guest, and he was robot talking a lot, because his connection wasn't great. So yeah, you need the people to implement it, and there's going to be a lasting carryover. I live in West Palm Beach, and I'm a contractor for a company that's based in Alexandria, Virginia. I'm not saying this will happen with my company, but I think a lot of companies are going to be more open to talent being wherever they happen to be. That is a little more challenging for companies that sell stuff because there's pretty significant tax implications. But for a lot of companies, if you could hire the right IT guy and he's willing to visit the office as needed, you might be okay with him being in West Palm Beach or Costa Rica, or I have a colleague who lives in Africa 9 months out of the year because his wife is in the Peace Corps. So I think there's going to be a lot more of that, where if you're the right person for the job, companies are going to be more willing to talk to you. And I will say, and this is not to toot my own horn, but since this has started, I've gotten more calls from recruiters where companies were previously not interested in someone who didn't want to come into the office. I've had more calls from recruiters saying, you seem like a pretty talented guy. I think they'd be more open to this now. You want to talk? And I'm not looking for anything, but I see it anecdotally, and I definitely see we now know all these tools work. If my mom can use Zoom, then I'm pretty sure we can implement these things. And as long as you have the right people backing it and making the security decisions, this is really going to change how people work. And it doesn't mean getting rid of offices. Everyone asks that question. It just means, hey, I need a host. Jeff Snyder lives in New York, New Jersey, and well, everything else is remote. Maybe he can do that show from his home in New Jersey. I think we're going to see a ton more of that.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. I think there's some new business practices and adaptation that's obviously really, really important. I don't want to lose sight, though, that we still need people. And, I think that we can have the best technology, but if people can't use it, to your point, you talked about your mother, you talked about your colleagues. If you don't, in any business, you still need the end user to interact with a person in some way, shape, or form. And those individuals need to have the talent to use the infrastructure that's built.
People are becoming more important than ever. We talked about Starbucks on the podcast last weekend. And with Starbucks, they aren't cutting any people by using more technology. They're putting their people into two jobs: producing their awfully complicated drinks that need a human touch that cannot be made by automated machine. I was drinking an automated French vanilla earlier, and it's okay. We have a machine in my office. It's all right. It's not as good as going to Starbucks. The other area Starbucks has put people into is customer service. Mm-hmm. If you go to a Starbucks 3 times, there's like a 75% chance someone knows your name and they know your order. And in my case, they ask, "Oh, how come your son's not with you today?" So that personal connection is meaningful. I didn't realize how meaningful until it's been taken away, where it literally feels like, oh my God, there's all these people in my life that I kind of want to know how they're doing. And maybe you can see them through the drive-through window, but it's very hard. And I'm sort of looking forward to checking into people, that, maybe you see every day. They're not personal friends. They're not in your phone, but they're still connections. And people are going to be more important than ever. Where those people are for certain types of companies may not be as important.
Yeah, and I want to bring it back to the financial services industry for a second, because we saw a lot of robo-advisors pop up. But we've also seen organizations like some of the bigger financial services brands create a robo-advisor, but have a hybrid model. And I think it's that hybrid model when it comes to the interconnectivity. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's important to have that person. And it's a different type of person. It's not your just the same financial advisor you had in the past. He or she has had to adapt to using the technology and interacting with the technology and then translating it in some ways to the end user. So I think it's that hybrid approach that you're talking about that new businesses will have to apply and will apply to this new paradigm.
Yeah. And look, the Motley Fool employs analysts who recommend stocks. And I'm on shows with different analysts. Some analysts are using Cap IQ and highly technical, ways to look at data. Another analyst I'm on with said to me, "Well, when I print out the earnings call transcript," and I just stopped him, like, "You print out the earnings call transcript?" He's like, "Yeah, I just like reading it on paper." People are going to do things different ways. That same guy can also, in a live Zoom, pull up charts and graphs and do things way faster than I can, because he does that all day long. He probably can use Excel in ways that I can barely fathom. But it's a mix of that. It's a mix of technology and understanding how to use it. The one thing I will say is be open to technology. I find it very frustrating, and I hate to keep bringing up my mother, who often watches this. But we were on a cruise, and my mother pulled up her phone to check Facebook, and she went to the web. She didn't go to the app. And I said, "Mom, you do know there's an app for Facebook, and it's like a way better experience." She heard what I said. She still checks Facebook on the web, as far as I know. So in my mind, and my mom is generally pretty open to technology, but why would you not be willing to learn? And I used to joke, my grandmother didn't know how to reply to an email. She could send an email, she could read an email, but if she wanted to answer your email, she sent a new email. But she was also, 80-something years old when email was invented, or at least when email became common. So try to be as open-minded to technology, and that's in work, but that's also your real life. If you're 75 and on a fixed income, it might make sense to drop cable and get Sling TV or something cheaper. Your kids can show you how to use that. The smart young person in your building could come over and show you how to use that. And there are lots of ways where if you continue to adapt with the times, where your life will get better. That doesn't mean you have to have your head in your phone 100% of the time. It just means be open to things that might be an improvement over the way you do it right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering if TiVo might be an option. Just kidding. Dan, we're going to go to a quick...
Actually, the new TiVo player, so they introduced a $49 player called the 4K, and it does something you and I have talked about. it takes all your subscription services and puts the content all in one place. So if you have Netflix and Hulu and you like YouTube, it starts to learn what you like, and you don't have to switch between the apps. I ordered one. I can't take anything for free. So I ordered one. If it does what it says it does, it seems like a pretty cool device as a way, to be a cord cutter and not have the hassle of, on my Roku, you have to hit the Netflix button, you have to wait for Netflix to spin up, then you decide, I'd rather watch Sling. You have to hit the Sling button, Sling pops up. This might solve that problem. I've only talked about it. I haven't seen it. When it arrives next week, we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, I want to hold you over. When we come back, we're going to talk about reopening America, and that starts in a lot of places and all around the globe. It starts with the airports and travel. We'll start there, so you stick around right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive FIBREX composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Dan Klein, Senior Technology and Consumer Products Reporter with The Motley Fool. Hey, Dan, welcome back to the program. Thanks for sticking around.
Oh, thanks for having me. I have nothing else to do, literally, other than work. There is nothing to do right now.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not true because you are appearing, I think, later today on The Motley Fool Live, where you are one of the hosts, just to regularly clarify.
Yeah, I meant, look, there are fun things to do. I've enjoyed, I'm 1 episode away from finishing Watchmen. There are other shows on my list that I'm excited to watch, but nothing feels normal right now. I am very eager for even just little things. I mentioned to you on the podcast that I booked a Vegas trip. That'll be a really weird Vegas trip. Blackjack with only 3 people, pretty empty hotels, probably a lot of room service but just the change of pace to me seems absolutely delightful. We're thinking about maybe just going to our other house for a weekend. Not going to hang out with the neighbors, not going to interact, just going to be in a different place where there's a little bit more outside, which would be kind of nice. I am very much looking forward to even a slight return to normal. And I know it's way worse where you are, where it's more densely populated.
Well, let's talk about returning to normal or the new normal or whatever, returning right? Let's talk about reopening because, and let's start with travel. And I think, for yourself, you're a traveler. You talked about Vegas. You talked about going on the cruises on the podcast, and you've talked on the program. And that involves going to the airport. So Heathrow Airport is really working on its coronavirus testing measures, temperature checks, all the above. Let's talk about airports. Give us your perspective on kind of getting that travel across the globe and domestically restarted.
So I think this is going to be a blueprint, not just for airports, but for arenas, for any place we mass gather. It's things like using UV light to clean surfaces, using scanning technology at airports so they don't have to pat you down, finding different ways to do things, temperature checks, but not a temperature check like stick your tongue out and put a thing in there, contactless temperature checks, sort of like this, what I always assume is in place in Vegas, where there's an eye in the sky, and someone could see if I'm leaving and my pocket's full of chips that I didn't, buy or come in with. I don't know that exists. I just kind of assume it exists. That's kind of what's going to come. At Heathrow, they're going to be able to sort of thermal scan you and go, wow, Jeff's temperature is 106. That can't be right. Like either he's really, really sick or there's a bomb in his pocket. So a lot of this, using UV light, using overnight mist cleaning to sanitize, wiping surfaces down more often, figuring out, obviously, social distancing will be possible in airports for now. I fly out of Fort Lauderdale a lot. The B terminal in Fort Lauderdale, which weirdly the A terminal is new. I don't know why they started with B, but previously there was a B terminal and a C terminal. The new A terminal is huge. There's a lot of space. You could ostensibly fly pretty full flights without forcing people to sit near each other in the waiting room. The B and C terminals don't have enough seats for normal operations. So there is simply no possibility of social distancing. If they're going to go to, so what do? You mandate masks. You clean surfaces more often. You probably have to bring back straws. A lot of places got rid of straws. Not only are you going to need straws, you're going to need bendy straws to be able to drink under a mask. Some of these things that sounds silly, but that's going to be an accommodation we might have to put up with for a while. Those things, Heathrow is at the forefront of testing that. Now, look, there's not going to be U.S. international travel anytime soon. There might be absolute need. Some of the travel that's still happening is planes that are almost empty, but there are federal mandates under the money that the bailouts the airlines took that they have to fly certain routes. So many of them have asked, hey, look, there's nobody on my flight from Charlotte to Denver. And the federal government has said, no, we gave you this money. You're going to fly Charlotte to Denver. Obviously, there's less flights. I was very surprised when I looked at Southwest in June. There were plenty of ways to get to Vegas, including nonstop. Now, my return flight has a stop. It's not a plane change, but it has a stop. That won't be that fun because that's obviously a very long trip made longer by having to stop for an hour or 90 minutes or whatever it is. But I was surprised that there were a ton of flights available, and I will point out that I have booked my travel out as far as Southwest will allow me because the prices are so unbelievably low that if you think you might be going somewhere for Thanksgiving, book that trip now. If it's an airline like Southwest, that will let you cancel. But Heathrow is showing other airports what works. They're going to try things, they're going to fail, they're going to try other things that work. And look, I don't think a UV light to clean a surface is very obtrusive. I think stuff like that is going to become very, very common. I talked about Facebook was showing me UV robots you could use to clean your kitchen. And I said, I'm not buying something from a Facebook ad from a brand I've never heard of. And people sent me research like this is how many lumens you need and this. Well, I've been sitting in front of a UV light for 7 hours a day for the last 6 months because apparently my ring light meets those standards. So I am the world's most sanitized person, at least from the neck up. A lot of this technology is coming, and you got to check the science. I have no idea if my particular ring light is actually meeting those standards. So I was teasing a little bit there, but there's going to be new normals. Offices are going to have new cleaning procedures. That's how we're going to get back to work. This isn't a new forever. I would like to hope people washing their hands after they go to the bathroom is a new forever, but I've been in enough men's room to know that it's not. But I would like to think that being cleaner is something we're all gonna do from now on, because we should have been doing it beforehand. But I'd like to hope that 6 months from now, we don't have to sanitize, hose down the office every night, that maybe we do that once a week and we can just have general cleaning like we used to. But if I could invest in anything, it would be in local cleaning companies. If I had the money, I mean, I probably do have the money, but I'm not going to do this. If I was going to start a business, it will be a business that comes in after hours and sanitizes your office. That is going to be a growth field, and certainly airports are going to need those services.
Well, you know, we pride ourselves in this network about talking about different topics: retirement, personal finance, healthcare. I did not think that we would broach bathroom etiquette at any point of a telecast. But Daniel, we're going to leave it there. Always a pleasure chatting with you, and best of luck on the Motley Fool Live and keeping your voice intact. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks for having me. I only talk on air now, so this was a joy.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, and more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.